Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Straightforward Farming Podcast. I'm your host, Tony, alongside Nick McCormick. And we want to apologize. It's been a while. Everybody's been busy farming. We said not a time to get a couple podcasts out. So here we are. And
we're back.
This is the 8th day of May. We've still got 300 acres of beans left to plant. The corn that we planted is all up now. Doesn't look the best. Got a yellow-orange tint to it, whatever you want to call it.
Needs some sun.
Yeah, it needs some sun. The first beans we planted are up. They look okay, too. Everything's kind of holding its own. Sounds like heavy rain in the forecast starting tonight and tomorrow for us. So, I don't know. So far, we've dodged the bullet. Had a big flood, but I hope we don't.
Hope we don't get one.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's for sure. Grain market's been on an absolute tear here lately.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Unbelievable. And I tell you, if we end up having big weather problems, I think we're just getting started. I mean,
it could get, I could say worse, but I mean, I guess it's good in the short term, maybe sort of if you have any left, but we'll end up paying for it in the long run. Yeah,
that's just it. I really think, though, if this drought don't break in Iowa up that direction, I think you're going to see corn higher than we did in 2012. I mean, it's damn near there now, and the growing season's just starting.
Yeah, exactly. Usually once the planters start rolling, it starts going the other way.
Yeah, so I'll admit I've mitigated a little bit of risk. I'm on a price averaging plan on corn, so, I mean, as of right now, I don't know, not even 10% sold.
Yeah.
But just selling a little bit every week. Beans, I've sold a little bit all along. I've made sales in the 10s, 11s, 12s. I've skipped the 13s. Looks like I'm going to go straight to the 14s.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, I just feel like me starting out that, I can't afford to not take advantage of some of this. So, right or wrong, I might leave some money on the table, but I should live to farm another year.
Yeah. That's all you can ask for in these times. That's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So, I don't know. What's on your mind this week?
I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were cussing and discussing while we were going through the field and whatnot. I brought up an interesting topic, technology. So, there's all kinds of technological advances that we've seen, especially in recent years, but throughout, our lives, I guess. Some of them have made life easier, but have they actually made it harder?
Right.
Cell phones, you get your first bag phone. That's pretty handy. Emergency, you need it, you got it. Okay, that's good. Well, now you're married to the thing, right?
Yep.
You're accessible 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it doesn't really matter who it is or what the topic is, why they're calling. It's like if you don't answer, well, why didn't you answer?
Yeah.
Well, when it was your landline, people just assume, well, maybe he's not home. But with your cell phone, you better be there.
Yeah, for sure. And, we caught the very beginning of cell phones. And back then, it was so expensive, you didn't talk unless you had something to say.
No, exactly.
You weren't just calling this shit on a cell phone.
No, you weren't. You were not.
It was not like talking to a lawyer on a phone. You said what you had to say and you got off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Atta baby, it's a boy. Commercial, where he leaves it on the collect calling. There's something my kids will probably get to do, make a collect call.
Yeah, exactly. They can even find a payphone to do it.
Yeah, no doubt. It just gets you to think about some of that stuff. It's like, we don't run into it as much as, people in the corporate world or, in the bigger business world probably, but they never get to turn it off, right? I mean, you could see them on vacations, I'm guilty of it too. They're still on their phone. We'll just check in with this one quick email or this one quick text or whatever, just to answer this question. That's all great, but there's no real downtime. It used to be when you got in the tractor, it was you and those same 15 country songs that got played over and over and over for that one radio station that you could pick up. Now it's not that way. It's like, auto steer's great, but what's that? What benefit does that mainly bring you? The ability to play on your phone the time you're going through the field.
Yeah.
To answer this, direct traffic here, there, wherever, on whatever it is. I need more seed here. I'm going to get some starter fertilizer there, whatever it is.
Yep.
And that's all well, good and great. But it's not like, used to you got on a tractor. Someone wanted to see you, they better show up at the field.
Yeah.
And hopefully they bring lunch because you're going to be there for 3, 4 hours, 6 hours, however big your field is, So the dynamic has changed there so much, I'm really benefiting from any of that. I think that's why the physical stress of some of this has gone down, but the mental stress of it, Chuck Weldon touched on that the other day, the mental stress of farming just increases every year. Because like you just said, the markets are up. The risks are bigger, right?
Yep.
One bad decision here or there starts multiplying itself, and then, just has the technology really made our lives any easier, or has it just made it more complicated?
And it's so everything's so instant now. So, when your dad or my dad was younger, you caught the grain markets in the morning. You might catch them on the radio at noon, possibly.
Maybe, yeah.
And then you caught them in the evening when you was watching the 6 o'clock news or whatever.
Yeah.
To where now that information is constantly coming, so you're constantly mulling it over in your head. I got to do this, I got to do that. And so it makes sense. And you can definitely see it. Or so they tell us. That mental health nowadays is, should I call it, weaker than is that a fair assessment? There's mental troubles nowadays, which maybe you hear about it more because once again you've got a ways to
fully accessible, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna hear about it constantly.
So I'm with you, and when I see all these TikTok videos too, it's something as simple as around here everybody still has mark on their planner. They're using auto steer, but the markers are at least there.
Yeah.
But when you go to TikTok, there is tons and tons of people that don't even have markers on their planner.
Yeah.
And think of something so simple that your auto steer goes down and there you're
set.
You simply cannot move.
Well, we had that around here with a guy. I don't think they had mark on that planner. They since traded it for one that does. But they had deer had sunspots or something that year, so they would set for 2 or 3 hours at a time that planting season. And then they tried to run it without it. That didn't work out great. The technology is great when it works, but by the same token, it adds a whole other dynamic to your life that maybe you don't need.
Yeah. To me, if I was in a biz like yours, and I'm not saying this is Nick's case, so if anybody local's listening, don't take this the wrong way. To me, it would make me mad in a situation of yours where you own a business and people legitimately call you after hours from time to time because they're broke down. But to me, it would be one thing if this is a guy that spends $25,000 a year with me. It's like, okay, hey, I'm on it. But the one guy that's went to every other business in town, couldn't find it nowhere. So I call you, and then now he expects you to get off of your couch at 6 o'clock in the evening and run to the shop and get him a part. That we'll never spend any more money there again. That would infuriate me. I'm not saying that's Nick's case. I'm just saying that.
Well, you have all sides of it, right? So you've got those situations, and you hope that providing them a service or whatever does help in that. And I try to be pretty accommodating on that because I'm a people person. You're in the business. You got to, whatever. And I like talking to people, whatever. But yeah, you're right. It's usually the guy. It's not just me. Like I know other people in the business, or just in business as general, and that's usually the case. The guys that are gonna really make you stretch to do something are the last guys to show up to business hours to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be aggravating to me.
Yeah,
it's part of it.
Every business has that, I'm sure. It's no different than the guy that's ready to get off his shift at McDonald's at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And this guy happens to roll through there. Well, you're the only place open. It's 3 minutes till. And
sure.
I know you got everything shut off, but go ahead and make it for me.
Yeah.
And probably never goes there ever again. But
yeah. And I've been in the same situation. I've had to call deer at 5 to 5.
We've all been there. That's why I try not to get too fussy about it.
Yeah, I totally understand.
We've all been there.
And I guess, the flip side is technology has made it easier standpoint of you can now call John Deere from the tractor cab. Hey, this is exactly what it's doing. I'm sitting here looking at it. It wasn't 20 years where you parked it on the field, had to run home and call them, and well, is it doing this? Well, hell, I don't remember. And,
Yeah.
So you can stand there and tell them the problem as it's happening.
You can, but the flip side of that is it's made us so dependent on that phone call, right? Like, hey, there's this light came on. Okay, which one? Well, I don't know. Third one from the left. Okay, well, what symbol's in it? Well, it's kind of a squiggly line. Okay, what's the owner's manual say? I don't know, that's at my house.
Yeah.
That's my number one pet peeve. Tractors should apparently come with 2 owner's manuals. Because even though Case, Deere, all the companies put a special little pocket there for the owner's manual, what's the thing the farmer does? Take it in the house because we're going to read it in there. Mm-hmm. Full well knowing they're never going to read the darn thing.
Yep.
And they never bring it back, I may have the manual for that. I may have one similar to it. I may not have one at all. It's just if you keep that one with it, so we know, know.
Well, like our local deer dealer, in a sense, they almost need 2 or 3 service managers during busy season just to take phone calls. You got one guy, and you call in there and you're just piled up 10 deep, and it might be an hour before they call you back or even longer. And not that I'm not knocking them, that's just the way the ball bounces.
That's just the way it goes, yeah.
But, at some point in time, you might need a shift of more service managers. The same amount of mechanics, but you need more service managers, too, that can take them calls.
Like I said, it's made us more dependent on that phone call. And some of that stuff's more easily found than people want to realize, but they just don't want to take the time to do it because it's easier to make the phone call than it is to look it up, right?
Right. Sure. Yeah.
But, not everybody has the fuse panel memorized in these tractors. Sometimes it's as simple as a blown fuse. Well, I might be able to tell you that it's a blown fuse, but I don't necessarily know it's number 13 or number 14. Depends on the tractor,
Yep. That is one thing I do love about, so for those of you here in the Midwest, we deal with home implement, and they've actually got their own, they call it their AMS support.
Yeah.
And it's been a really useful tool because you take a lot of these service managers at these local stores, it might be a guy that's 50, 55 years old. And I'm not knocking him, but he didn't learn some of this newer stuff.
Yeah. And it changes so fast.
Yeah.
You got to supplies in to keep up with it.
Yeah, he can't keep up with it, but not by any fault of his own. So they've got a hotline, and I don't know if there's 3 people, 5 people. I have no idea how many people's on that hotline, but usually up there you can be talking to somebody within 3-4 minutes. They're all very knowledgeable as to what's going on. So that's been a tremendous help because a lot of times all it is something simple. So rather than drag your service manager through a 30-minute phone call and send a mechanic out for something that maybe he's unsure of or didn't even need to come out for, you can get it done over the phone. So that's been a very useful tool.
You just need to press these 3 buttons twice and you're good.
Yeah.
But you don't know that.
Yep. Yeah, so anymore, if it's something in the 2630 monitor or anything computer related, I call them first.
Yeah.
And then they can generally diagnose it and say, okay, we're sure it's this part, so you're going to have to call your store. And so then I can call them and say, hey, I already talked to him, you need to order this part, and it's good to go. So, and it really, it helps the service manager out too, because
you're not tying up his time. Yeah.
And he's somewhat, I'm not going to say clueless, but he don't know that like they do, so he's going to run 5 different diagnostics in what they did.
Well, we got to know the mechanic side of it and the
Exactly.
The technology side. We can't keep up with the technology side. I mean, you got to specialize in that to be on with that game.
Yeah, for sure. So that's been a super good tool that they put together.
Yeah.
And I assume maybe some of these bigger got the same thing. But
that kind of touches back on to some of what we were talking about. I think I touched on one of the podcasts, on the people that set these monitors up and whatnot might be computer whizzes, but they've never ran a tractor.
For sure.
And the universal symbol thing, I don't know who came up with that, but I don't give a shit if somebody in Bangladesh knows what symbol that is.
Yep.
In English, and I want to have a word on it.
Yep. John Deere, you're an American-made company.
Yeah.
You make it in our language.
And the frustrating part for that, to me, is, okay, these things are touchscreen now, right? So you can just click USA English, and then all that would be. And if you got to sell it somewhere else, do the software over, and then it comes up in some universal symbol or whatnot, right?
I will admit Deere software is very easy to learn, or at least the 2030 monitors from their back was easy. I don't know about this new stuff. I've never messed with it. But that aspect, it was a lot of nice symbols. It might be a symbol of a notebook or your actual planner. I mean, you just hit all, and it took you right to where you needed to go. It was very easy. And I still think that stuff should be standardized countrywide. I mean,
well, like I said, just put the name of it. I can read, I think we touched on this before. It's like, you get in a earlier Power Stroke, it says wait to start. That means don't start for a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's a squiggly line. Okay, I guess I got to wait till the infinity symbol goes off, and then I'll start it. Oh, the infinity symbol's off, or it's not written infinity symbol, but it's similar.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, the squiggly line stops. I guess I can start it now.
Yeah. Yep.
Seems like we can make that a little easier if we wanted to. It's just a software change. What's the deal there? I realized back in those days on the dash, they had to make more than one dash. But there again, this is America, and I don't give a shit if it doesn't work somewhere else.
Yep.
I've
often wondered, too, how much technology creates headaches as far as, so take a planter nowadays. When we were kids, you dumped seed in it, you had a chain that ran your row unit, and away you went, and you still raised a pretty decent crop.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I mean, you're keeping track of your row cleaners, your downforce, you're just 9,000 things in this planter. And if one little thing gets out of kilter, then you got to stop and call the deal, and I can't put a price tag on some stuff. I'm not saying it don't work. I'm truly not. Don't misunderstand me there. But some of that stuff, it's like, how many more layers do you
could spend yourself broke on planter attachments.
For sure.
And all that stuff's well, good, and great.
It's sometimes Mother
Nature dictates a bunch of that, and if the ground's worked into shape and you're paying attention to what you're doing, you could probably get by without it.
Sure.
I like all that stuff.
I'm the same way. If I had an unlimited budget, I'd probably have most of it just to play with it, because most of that stuff truly does work. But I can't tell you that it's putting a ton of yield in your pocket.
Yeah. My brother and I always laugh. There's a pretty popular planter brand around here, and it's like, well, you set your air at this and you're good and you just go and this plate and you're good. Well, that's all because your monitor didn't show you, right? So now that you get this new technology and you get a monitor that can monitor that stuff, well, then you realize, well, your air needs adjusted quite a bit and you got to change plates for this, do that for that. But you didn't know before, so you're just going. Sometimes, ignorance is bliss, right?
For sure.
You just roll. Back when you just had the flashy lights, as long as they were flashy,
yeah,
you keep right on rolling.
Exactly. Yep. And there's guys that still run that stuff that still raise respect.
They're doing
crops.
fine.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to tell you that stuff don't work. Somebody's going to get mad and tell me that it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't know how much money it's putting in a smaller farmer's pocket.
The flashy light thing on older monitors, you get to where you can read those, right? I'm getting ready to run out of seed.
Yeah.
I'm not out yet.
Right.
But no, that light took a tenth of a second more to flash this time than the last 3 times. I'm about out of seed.
Yep. Well, I've always said too, everybody shows their big fancy precision 2020 monitors and this and that, and it seemed like every one that I see says 99.8 or 99.9% accuracy. So I'm like, well, was that just programmed in there? I mean, it may be only 80 for all you know, but
monitor says it's good, I'm rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's some truth in that. Yeah, I mean, but you see that in all walks of life now. It's like you just had to read your gas gauge, right? It's like, oh, I got 3/4 of a tank. Now you've got 310 miles to empty.
Yeah, for sure.
It's counted down for you. You don't have to do the math. You don't have to know. Now you're like, oh, gotta go.
Yeah.
And so that's made a lot of people, my wife included, well, I've got another 40 miles. I'm like, you're out of gas.
Yep.
Stop and fill it up. Well, I got 40 miles. Yeah.
I got so sick of my wife doing that and having 29 miles left that I went and got a gas tank and put it here at the house, and she still won't keep it full.
I understand completely.
I
That infuriates me.
got so pissed here a week ago. I said, I'm going to sell the gas tank or put diesel in it, whatever, because apparently nobody's using it. Every time I get in this van, there's no gas in it.
Every time I get in the car, I fire it up, 23 miles empty or whatever. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Well, I was on my way home and I was in a hurry. I'm like, I get all that, but what if something happens and we've got to go? What if one of the kids gets hurt and we got to drive to the hospital? Yep. Hold on a second. Got to stop and get gas. Oh, wait, there's no gas stations open.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And once again, that's probably where technology has hampered it. When we were kids, you get in the car, you're like, we got 1/4 of a tank. That ain't too bad. But now you got 23 miles. So that's a psychological thing.
Now you're only 6 miles from the gas station, When we were kids, fuel gauges had 2 spots, right? Full and empty, and they maybe hovered in the middle for a little bit, but they basically were full or empty.
The bottom half always went faster than the top. It took forever to get to half a tank, and then it took half that time to get to...
Back when you had trucks with 2 tanks, you had to flip switch. Well, the one tank would always go way past full, but once it started moving, you were on your way out. The other tank started full, and it would ride for a long time, and then once it got below half, like you said, the bottom half was small.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, good old technology.
Yeah, it's definitely helped in a lot of ways, but it's definitely hindered in a lot. I think, truthfully, this world has benefited by technology more in the medical field than probably anywhere else as far as a true benefit you can see with your eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, sure, we got all these fancy gadgets in farming that makes it easy, and, they want to blow smoke up your ass at how many gallons of fuel auto steer is going to save you, and I sure don't see the kind of savings that they talk about. I mean, there's probably some there, but I mean...
There is. Well, like I said, it's death by 1,000 cuts, though. Next thing you're dropping this money on this technology and that money on that technology, and it's hard to save that back.
Yeah. I'm actually the type, I'm perfectly content right now. If they didn't add anything else, I would be totally content. It would not bother me.
I don't need anything past where we're at,
But I'm sure it's going to get worse. Combine, they just keep adding more and more to them. Now we got cameras inside them and everything else. And it's like they just sit around and think of shit
to put in them.
Exactly.
Yeah. In the car world, you want leather, so you get all that shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All you wanted was a seat that was easy to clean after your kid spit up. But it comes with all these sensors, and your cruise control automatically adjusts the car in front of you. And, yeah, all I really wanted was a seat I could wipe off.
For sure.
But
yeah, we're pretty close to the automated cars becoming a reality, and I think it's going to be a lot like tractors. You're still going to sit in the front seat behind the wheel with all the controls for the next 10 years, but it's going to do most of it.
I watched a video of that Fendt track tractor today with auto turn and everything on it. The guy was just sitting there, hanging out.
Yep. And that's where we're one step closer to the next phase. Will be the guy won't be in it then.
No.
So it's coming.
Well, because he's going to fall asleep in it. So.
Yeah.
I would.
And I still think that's what they're going to do. That there'll be so many cameras mounted on the tractor, the tillage tools, with drones. You know, because everybody's like, well, what do you do if you plug up your field goal? There's going to be so many cameras on that.
Yeah.
That you're going to be able to see it and at least get it stopped. You might have to drive to it, but it's not just going to drag a wad of shit through your 80-acre field for the next 2 hours. I mean, it's.
That's what the hired man's for.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to the term hired man. I realize that some people get fussy about that these days.
Yeah. But I'm sure, there may be capabilities where you can do remote driving with it to some degree. Obviously, you can't take it down the road, but, maybe there's a deal where you can bump the cultivator up, make it turn out, scatter it, and go back. I don't know. Yeah,
it's hard to say. I'm sure there's people somewhere just thinking shit up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it's definitely coming. I mean, that's like you say, the tractors are driving themselves totally now, and you're just along for the ride. So the next step will be getting clear out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's going to be technology there that the average farmer, I don't think, is going to be able to afford. Auto steer, when it came out, it was somewhat expensive. But, I mean, a 1,000-acre farmer could still buy that and not break the bank and whatnot. But I think the next leg higher, it's going to be shit that's going to be expensive that only the big boys are going to be buying.
How much of that stuff, I was just talking to a guy about this the other day, how much of that technology got bought and never come close to its full benefit, whether it was payback or usage or whatever. I bought this unlock, but then I traded the tractor. Or I bought this unlock and then the monitor went down. I had to buy the upgrade. I had to buy it again. I mean, that happens over and over and over again.
For sure.
Where they never saw the benefit of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, them companies have made an absolute fortune in selling that. And, I mean, I truthfully can't believe that every company on the planet now hasn't. I mean, they could raise auto steer to $1,000 a month and people are going to pay it. I mean, everybody's addicted to it. And I'm as guilty as anybody.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean,
it is nice when it works.
But I suppose that's probably coming. I know on that deer stuff now, a lot of that's not a lifetime unlock like it used to be.
No, it's not.
Subscription now. And
well, I think what you're going to see in the tractor world is instead of Deere making 5 models of this tractor, right, they're going to make a model of that tractor, and you're going to buy a subscription for the horsepower you need for that job.
Yep, I think so too.
Because the powertrains are basically the same anyway,
right?
Within a series,
right?
So rather than sell you a 8240R/8420R, however we're saying it today, no, you're going to buy this one universal model, and we're just going to adjust the horsepower based on what you need.
Yeah, yeah, and that would be easy enough to do nowadays. I mean,
well, with the satellites and MyLink and whatever, it'd be pretty easy for them to do.
Yep, this month I need a 400 horse subscription.
Yeah.
Next month I need 200.
Yep. I'm batwinging next month. I'm not going to spend the money. Grain cart, whatever.
Yep.
Wait till a hired man finds the phone number for that. I need 700. I got a hot date tonight.
But I know, talking to old Cushman, that was on that podcast here, Nathan Cushman, he was on here a few months ago, and it's amazing the headaches that technology has created for McCam. I mean, I think he told me one time 70-80% of the stuff that comes through their shop is DEF related, or
it's all emissions related.
And it used to be, okay, we had this little problem here, you buy the simple part and fix it, and now it's a $3,000 wiring harness. You just tear every bit of the old stuff off and put the whole new one on. There's no piecing stuff together like there was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just can't fathom. I mean, what do you think a company like J.B. Hunt or somebody like that spends in a year on just stupid emissions crap that you didn't have 25 years ago? I mean, it's got to be mind-boggling.
Oh, yeah. Because the hard parts last pretty good now. They've got to figure it out. It's the little stuff. What infuriates me about electronic failure is, okay, this circuit board went bad. There's no moving parts in it. How did it go bad? But it happens all the time. Happens every day. Wiring harnesses they get bent, they get rubbed, they get hot, they get cold. A squirrel chews them up, a mouse, whatever. Okay, those fail, but it's still infuriating to find. But the other stuff, the ECM went bad on that. There's literally nothing in it that moves. That's the benefit to electronics, right? It was supposed to be the fact there's no moving parts last forever.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
Yep.
I don't know, the whole emission thing is another tangent you probably don't get me started on. There's no benefit to the emissions on those trucks as far as net benefit to the actual environment of that being positive. Time you figure all the trucks or all the people in the factories that are making that stuff to replace it because it fails out all the time.
Yep.
The trucks that are hauling those parts somewhere, the wasted downtime, this, that, you start adding all that up, they aren't saving a single carbon emission one.
Nope.
With all that emissions crap.
In fact, truth be known, they're probably making it worse.
They're making it worse. They're making it worse.
I mean, think of how many times a John Deere mechanic has had to drive from the store to the field to fix a DEF-related problem. So now you just look at all the pollution. You just got.
Well, I'll give you one better, Tony. Okay, this combine, and the exhaust runs super hot now, and the combine catches some fires and burns, right? So how much smoke did that combine give off? Because it caught fire and burned. That took care of the next 3 combines that guy's going to have and what they saved with this cleaner exhaust, right?
Yep, for sure.
It didn't make any difference in the world in the grand scheme of things. We're regulating shit for no purpose other than to pad somebody's pocket. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, China's blowing and going.
I'm just pissed because I didn't get in on it.
Yeah, exactly. Al Gore's laughing his way to the bank, sitting in his mansion, thinking, look what I put those dipshits into.
Yeah. And it just gets worse every day. I mean, the people that go along with this shit, I mean, that's one area where TikTok has opened my eyes in a giant way. And I think I talked about that when I was on the Shark Farmers podcast about and I guess I was probably a little more reserved on his show because I want to be respectful to him and his show, but this is my show, so I'll say it. These people are fucking brainwashed.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody said. There is no change in their mind, and I have no desire to be an advocate, a cheerleader, whatever, for agriculture. I'm going to do my thing because you're not going to change in people's mind. They are dead set in their ways, and so to hell with them. Write them off because I'm not here to educate them, whatever. It's a lost cause.
I was planting that day that I listened to that podcast. It was a little bit after it came out. And I was planting that day, and I thought about that all the rest of the day because he asked you that question. Should we educate or what? And I'm like, honestly, I think the disconnect is so big between agriculture and food on your plate that we're better off just to tell them to shut up and turn the other way and don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's the point.
Because I think they're so far removed from it, so naive, and I won't use the term, I guess ignorant maybe is probably the right term. Not demeaningly ignorant, just they don't know.
Yeah.
And unless you grew up in the agricultural lifestyle, it's so hard to explain it to them. I mean, you see the stuff these people argue about. I watched a video the other day, and it was a horse, and the hoof was plenty long. Farrier was trimming it up or whatever. You know, they sawed his leg off with a Sawzall. I'm like, you realize that's good for the horse, right? The comments in that, I almost sent it to you. I'm like, the comments were hysterical, kind of, sort of, but sad at the same time. And it's like, he said, you thought he was killing it. And I'm like, that actually needs done every 8 weeks, 6 to 8, to be good for it. It's not bothering the horse any. It's like clipping your fingernails,
They do realize that as big as that horse is, he could kick the shit out of a guy trimming his feet if he wanted to.
If he wanted to. Yeah, if he didn't like it, he could take care of it, yeah. But like I said, you'd have thought, and they weren't ridiculously long. They were just a little long. It was just a nice little video, clipping them up.
Yep.
Just on it, decent video, and that's pretty small in the grand scheme of agriculture, right?
Yeah. And to me, that's one area now where technology has brought that into my eyes. I mean, that was stuff we didn't see as kids. I mean, nobody around here talked like that, thought like that, nothing.
No.
But now, I mean, you see it in mass volumes every day on a TikTok view. I mean, I can't believe these dairy farmers.
Oh.
I mean, you talk about a group of people that just get raked through the coals for milk a cow. You're not slaughtering it. You're not doing nothing. You're just taking milk out of it. I mean, you would think that you're just beating this thing with a ball bat.
You do realize if nobody milks that cow, it gets sick, right?
Right.
But they apparently don't grasp that.
Yeah.
It is very eye-opening to read through the comments on some of that stuff and see how far removed the average consumer is from their food source.
Oh, it's awful. And that's where, we're outnumbered big time.
Yeah.
And I just have no desire to try to educate these people because I think it is a completely lost cause. They don't care. Their mind is made up. They've been brainwashed in these colleges, and you're not going to change your mind.
No, you're not. A good friend of mine worked for Monsanto at one time. Well, still does. But and they were at a research farm, and a tour group came through, and he was doing his thing, whatever. And one of the people in the tour group asked him, what this field had been sprayed with. He's like, well, Roundup. Well, how'd that be? There's grass between these different plots, because we're talking, little small plots. He's like, well, we didn't spray the grass. He's like, well, Roundup kills everything for miles and miles and miles. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's a contact. It only kills what it's sprayed on, and only certain types of weeds. Letting out doesn't kill anything, but back then it killed something.
Sure.
It's like, that's how... And maybe, like I said, you want to think you can educate them through that, but unless you start them at the beginning, I don't think you can. They're too far out.
Yeah, and then nowadays you get too many. I wouldn't call it conspiracies. I'm trying to think how I should word this. So if you and I were to run into a big group of city people and we gave them a logical argument like that, well, we didn't spray that grass in the middle, their immediate defense is going to be, well, yeah, I mean, Monsanto's benefiting them. Well, yeah, they're going to cover for it. You know what I mean? You get that you and Monsanto's on the same team, so you're not telling us the whole story because you work hand in hand with them. And everybody thinks we're trying to provide them bad food somehow or another in this just the cruelest way possible, which is actually the exact opposite. Everybody, we need this conservation program. Farmers are the best stewards of the land there's ever been. We take better care of it because we want it for the next generation. We want it for the rest of our career, for our kids' career, and their kids' career. So we take care of that. Animals, there's always your outliers, and that's always the one that makes the news where an animal's being mistreated or whatever. But you see that with dogs and cats too. Sure. But they're not beating down their doors, know. By and large, the average livestock farmer is doing the best he can for those animals. You can knock the confinement hog building all you want. If I'm a pig and I've got, X number of days to live or heat building that's climate controlled or stand out in the mud where it's snow on my back, I don't know, the building's not looking so bad. Yeah, for sure. But that's where I just think we've lost it. And I don't know when it started. I don't know where we lost it, but it's just too far gone now. You're not going to fix it. Do you find it ironic that the same people that are lining up to take these vaccines are also the same people that don't want you to give your animals any shots of any kind? Yeah, for sure. Do you see the irony in that? They hate GMOs, and a vaccine is one of the most GO things you can do. It's like, you give that pig a shot 9 months ago? Yeah. Oh, that's no good. But I got this shot twice last week, and I am feeling great. Once everything started working again, and I got over that cold. Got rid of my blood clots and everything else. I got rid of those. I'm good to go. Yeah, and when back to the Fauci says we might need a third one. I just can't wait to get it. Yeah, but you cured an animal from dying. Now you're an evil person. Yeah. I just can't get over his country just treats pets like they're absolute royalty. I love my dog more than anything. But the minute he bit somebody, I would shoot that son of a bitch so fast. I hear you. That's the way I roll. When we grew up, if you had a mean dog or a dog you just simply didn't want, you shot it. That was the way you rolled in the 80s. I'm sorry. We were too busy fighting communism, Tony. We didn't have time to listen to that song. Sarah McLachlan sing that sad song. I'm telling you right now, the best racket in the industry is get dogs and breed them. And every 6 weeks, put the puppies on Facebook. I got 9 pups here. I want $600 a piece. If they ain't gone with them, shoot every one of them. You're going to have people lined up to save the dogs. Just telling you. Spend all your time waiting. Yeah, I hear you. It is a little crazy, how big the Save Your Pet movement has got versus human life. Yeah. Abortion. Yeah. That's no big deal. No big deal. But your dog got a splinter in its paw? Yeah. The same commercial will come on with the starving kid in Africa with flies all over him. You just click right on through that. But boy, we get to Save the Pet commercial. Get your checkbook. Yeah. Skippy's got a bad case of diarrhea. We got to do something about that. It's awful. I can't figure it out. I don't know where we have ever dropped the ball, but we dropped it in a major way. And then there's just no fixing it. I'm convinced, and that's why I've wrote it off. I'm not there to be an advocate. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing, and I will do it until they shut me down, which is probably possible. Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem explaining something to somebody, but you can't reason with a certain faction of those people. They don't want to be convinced of the truth. They've got their opinion, and that's the agenda they want to push. For sure. And I guess I should clarify. I have no problem, and I actually enjoy explaining, let's just say, just for a random instance, that your in-laws live in the city, and they come down here and legitimately wanted to know how we farm. I would gladly take all the time in the world to show them, and for sure, and ooh and ah, and they would probably like it. But if you just come in here guns blazing, that just right from the word go, you guys are killing us, then I'm all you gotta do is look on TikTok and look at some pretty honest, pretty innocent videos, right? Today I planted this 80-acre field, and look through the comments, and there's always some warrior out there that is going down this tirade of how, you just kicked his dog, poisoned his food, whatever. Welfare. I mean, it's like, but if you don't like the food I grow your own. Yeah, exactly. Yep. How long do you think that's going to last? For sure. I mean, you see that on Chuck Weldon's post every day. I mean,
He gets kicked all the time.
He either gets called the welfare queen,
Yeah.
killing the environment.
Yeah.
Just you name it. And it,
A part of me wants to be like, bud, hike your skinny jeans real uptight and go out, plant your own garden in your apartment on the balcony and see how much food you can grow for yourself.
it's a free country. Come on out here. Get you
Yeah.
some $10,000 acre land. Start
Yeah.
buying her up. Get
Knock
your
yourself
machinery,
out.
and you can go right up to the FSA office and sign up for money like anybody else. So if it's that easy, come on aboard.
Get right on it. Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
they don't want to do that. They just want to stand there. And it's always some yogurt sprout eating son of a bitch. It's never done nothing.
Yeah.
That's probably sitting at home getting his extra $300 a month.
Unfortunately, back to the technology thing, they see the bad because the news always shows bad things more than good things, right? And I guess we're fortunate that good things haven't become news because there wouldn't be very many of them at that point. No, but so they see this stuff here, there, wherever, and they already have their preformed opinions because somebody told them that's the way it was, and then they can search it out on the internet or it pops up on their Facebook feed, whatever, and then here it come.
Yep. Well, so the environmental working group had done that years ago with the farm subsidies. You can look and see what every person's getting. And then with the PPP loans and all that. And sure, they want to knock average Joe Blow farmer that, we got $30,000 worth of PPP loans, but they completely overlooked Walmart, a multi-billion-dollar company with the Walton family. He's one of the richest in the world, and they're getting literally $400 million. And
on that EWG thing, how come there's not a website where I can go and see how many people just got,
food stamps,
WIC cards, whatever?
I agree.
Why can't I see
that? That should be public knowledge.
That should be public knowledge. That's my tax dollars. Why can't I see it?
Exactly. You're seeing it for the farmers, so I want to see it for people getting food stamps, whatever else.
I saw two good memes here this last week that are somewhat related to this. And one of them was along the lines of, a celebrity makes $80 million a year. You're never going to meet them. You'll pay full price for anything they endorse, right? But your next door neighbor is a small business owner, makes 25 to 100, and you want a discount.
Yeah.
And the other one was McDonald's messed your order up 1,000 times, but you keep going back. But your local small business got one thing wrong one time, you vow to never business there again. Whatever.
That's a good point.
Back to your Walmart thing, it's like, you're going to pick on this farmer that got his PP or whatever. But Walmart, like I said, gets the hundreds and thousands of dollars over and over on some of this. Well, that's no big deal. We'll gladly line up there for Black Friday and spend our next 5 paychecks on it,
Yep. Yeah. That's where we've dropped the ball. Is just like you said, that's a good point on, you'll keep going back to Walmart when they screw something. Mm-hmm. And also, if you want to take it a step further, you, me, and probably everybody listening to this podcast probably name at least 3 people off the top of your head that's on disability that goddamn well can work and be just fine.
Yeah.
But nobody turns them in, nobody says nothing, so we just let it go.
And people that can't get on that need to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until it blossoms out of control, and then we sit here and wonder why we're in the shape that we're in.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm as guilty as that as anybody. I mean,
and I think with those big companies, there's always this, like, they're so big that you're not touching the face of the company, right? So when your order gets messed up or whatever happens and you're angry about it, you don't worry about it or do anything about it because it's this big company. But when it's your local small business guy, your local ag retailer, your local, deer dealer, case dealer, AGCO dealer, whatever, well then, those guys and you're going to harp, your local Ford dealer, Chevy dealer, whatever it is, if it's Chevy as a company, well, you're just going to roll on about that because there's nothing you can do. But your salesman, by gosh, and, well, you're not going to sponsor his kid's next softball fundraiser because your car didn't start on a random Tuesday when you left the key on.
That's one thing I guess I can't say that I've never done it, but man, I'll bet I ain't done it once or twice literally my entire life. Is I never go into a business just ranting, raving, and cussing, and it don't matter what it is. I mean,
no,
they usually get 2 or 3 chances, whether it's a part at John Deere, the Ford dealer, whatever. After 2 or 3 times, if we ain't got this figured out, then I'm going to start getting a little hot under the collar. But I'm still not going to go in there and be belligerent about it.
Because you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right?
I agree.
Just a prime opportunity to educate the other day, and I'm so angry at myself for this. So angry. Daughter and I got done, I picked her up from volleyball practice, and we went to Dairy Queen. There was a line clear around the building. No problem. We'll just go in. So we're in there. They'd taken our order. We're standing there drinking our drink, waiting for our order to come up. No big deal. Carrying it out, bringing it home. And this lady comes blowing in the side door, and she is livid. She's been out there for a while and the people behind her have already got their food. They left, and they ordered the same thing she did, which I don't know how she would know.
Right.
So they immediately handed her food. It was literally coming down the rack. I just heard them tell the girl that was carrying it out, car number 1 or whatever's food was coming down anyway. And this gal would come in crying once already. So here this gal comes in, and she's just raising Cain. They give her food. She gets her food. Then she wants her money back. Mm-hmm. So the manager comes over there and tries to explain to her, she'll do it, but, you really didn't have to make these girls cry. And they were all 16 to 18-year-old kids.
Yep.
And they were unusually swamped, and they'd been swamped for a while. They were swamped when I went by originally going into town. They were doing the best they could. They were short-staffed. You can't get anybody to show up right now. And it was a busy night. I should have went over there and offered to buy that lady's supper and explained to her I was doing that so I could educate the young people in the room on how, you're a Karen and Karen's Karen. Why don't you take your ass back to your car and don't bother to show up again?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and pay your bill and just don't come back.
For sure.
But I didn't. I was literally kind of flabbergasted or caught in the moment of it, just watching it, that I react, which I'm angry with myself about. But
I think the only time I have ever bitched at a food joint, and I generally won't even bitch if my food is screwed up or not made correct or whatever. And this is God's honest truth, and you're going to think it's crazy coming from me, anybody that's listening, is I truly do think about all the people that are starving in this world. That I'm not going to sit here in the most free country on the planet and bitch because you put mayonnaise on my sandwich and I told you not to. That, to me, that's ludicrous. But
I'm pissed at the guy that made mayonnaise a standard condiment, because that's not a standard condiment. That's the guy's ass I want to chew.
Yeah.
That's not a standard condiment. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, it was, I'll never forget, it was in 2017, the night before we were leaving to go to Colorado. Henry and I ran over to Matt Toon, and we was in a Hardee's, and this was at probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was not one single person in the entire building, and there was no cars in the drive-up at all. And we ordered very basic burgers, fries, whatever. We stood there for 15 minutes while these jacks screwed around, walked around, and by then I was pissed because there was no reason for that at all. I mean, there was literally, we were the only people there, which after seeing the service we got, I could understand why we were the people there.
Yeah.
But I went over and I gave this kid both barrels. I said, this is bullshit. I said, we've been here 15 minutes waiting on a couple of basic cheeseburgers.
Yeah. And
I laid into him pretty good, and it still took another probably 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I've never darkened the door since, and that's probably the only time I've ever bitched, which all you had to tell me was up front, it's going to be 20 minutes, because then I could have made my selection to go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the fact that, and there was nobody else, and if people are busy, I would have never complained.
No.
People get busy, I understand, but there was literally nobody there. That was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. I try to be a little forgiving on stuff anymore because I've been on the other side of it. But.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. I just don't like people that just get belligerent just immediately. It's like, have a little patience. I mean, you gotta, and I don't know, I guess.
It's an instant world now, though. Everything's right there at your fingertips, and you want it now, and you're not waiting.
Yeah.
Back to the technology thing.
And I'll admit, I'm probably one of the most impatient persons on the planet when it comes to other stuff. But I keep it to myself. I might bitch and groan under my breath, but I'm not just going to.
That's what always amazes me about the comments on stuff. It's like, who takes the time to leave super negative comments? Like, I don't comment very often anyway. If I'm going through Ag Talk or something and there's somebody's got a question I actually know the answer to and somebody else hasn't commented on it, I'll put my opinion out there on what I think the answer is, trying to be helpful. But I don't ever take the time to put a negative comment. I got other shit to do.
I'm the same way. I don't either.
Who has the time to try to run somebody else down?
Yep.
On the internet. I don't have time for that.
Yep. It's mind-boggling. And to me, 9 times out of 10, that just kind of shows who you're dealing with. And we've talked 100 times on TikTok. It's always the guy with 3 followers and no videos.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have ever seen a big creator, it don't even have to be big, but somebody with a few thousand followers on TikTok and several videos that are making bad comments. You can have disagreements, and I totally get that, because it won't be just a complete bash this guy. It'll be like one guy will state his opinion, the next guy will state his.
And I get that, but it's the trolls that just...
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a random article on Yahoo, if it's a TikTok video, Facebook post, whatever. Who has the time to leave all those negative comments?
Yeah, I agree.
And those got to be angry little people.
Oh, they got to be. I know, I've sparked that stuff with my deal on no-till on TikTok. And, and that's what's funny when I posted that last video about me actually no-tilling, because I'd been told that golden secret.
Yeah.
So, but the part that gets me is how when you get this group of people like that, they just immediately jump on you and tell you that you're doing wrong and you could make so much more money to do it another way. Where I'm the type, if I had the holy grail to know how to raise 600 bushel corn, my competitor's going to be the last ones to know.
Yeah, I'm not telling you that, yeah.
So I don't know why they just jump up and down and insist that you're going to make more money by doing it this way. It's like, if that's truly the case, you got to keep that to yourself.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a very valid point.
But I don't have anything against no-till. I mean, it's probably come across that way. I'm just, like I've always said, and I'm going to stick with it, that's not the only way to farm, is my thing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that's not the only way to farm.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not for every farm. It's not for everybody. And it doesn't matter if it's no-till or, you see it in a lot of different movements or whatever, organic, whatever. It can be stuff that's not even farm related. It gets to the point that it gets cultish.
Yeah.
To where they're just super belligerent on it,
Like a gleaner guy.
Like a gleaner guy. Yeah, they're going to tell you 1,000 times, that auger's great.
Yeah.
Sure, it'll raise over shit, but it unloads good, yeah.
Because, the rest of us just have awful trouble with our hurricane augers. I mean, just working on them things all the time.
Yeah, don't know how to make it through the day. Yeah. A buddy of mine told me that he finds the gleaner thing very funny, but he thinks you're picking on some pretty low-hanging fruit there.
Well, there ain't many to choose from anymore.
Well, that's right. He's like, just making fun of gleaners just too easy, Nick. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, it is. I'll give it that. But, I mean, the pickings are getting slim there. I mean,
yeah.
Now, getting back on the technology deal, something that pisses me off anymore is how you can't talk to nobody on the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It don't matter who you call. It's press 1 for this and
for that.
900 different departments. And then you're on hold for 15 minutes and it's some guy that don't speak English. And
it's by design because they know if they jack around long enough, you'll just give up.
Yeah, for sure. That pisses me off to no end.
Oh, absolutely. Very frustrating.
But it ain't going away. I mean, hell, 10 years from now, it'll probably be email only. You probably won't be able to call anybody.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't know. So that's probably one area where technology has got a little old, I would say. It's definitely helped, but it's definitely hurt. I can tell you that. I mean,
yeah, and it's taken some of the personal out of a lot of things.
Yeah, in some areas it's added it. Like as far as we keep going back to TikTok, but there's people that I feel like I personally know that I've never met.
Yeah.
Thanks to technology, and then in other areas it's completely taken it away. Because now you're dealing with just complete automation instead of an actual person. So
yeah, well, even taking it simple to that, Facebook. Okay, so you've got this friend that in my personal life. Okay, I went to college with. Okay, well, I don't have to call them because I saw the last thing they ate. I saw the last 25 life events.
Yeah,
there's nothing to talk about. Sure. I don't have to call them and find out about it because I already saw them, right?
Yeah.
So then you lose out on that personal interaction or whatnot, which I'm still an old school guy. I still like to talk to people, but I'm in the minority.
And I'll admit, when Facebook first come around, I got on there, I think it was around 2009 or 10. I mean, it was every bit of 10 years ago for sure. And I did think that was so cool, though, how people that you hadn't seen for 15 years, you did get to kind of follow their life.
For sure, yeah.
To some degree that, we'd never got to do before. But it was like anything else, it got old after a while, and I completely deleted my Facebook account now. I'm not even on it no more, but because it got so overrun. And I'll admit, for a while, I was one of the first ones to bitch politics on there, whatever. And then I just got away from stuff, and it just got to where it was nothing but politics and 60-year-old women just bitching back and forth about politics.
The only reason I have it is because you can't buy or sell anything without Marketplace anymore.
Sure.
Your classified ad paper doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of it, I casually scroll through occasionally. I've probably got 600 friend requests that I haven't went through because I just don't take the time to do it. I just spend as little time on Facebook as I can.
Right. It just anymore. I just can't take it, so I delete it, and that's the end of it. And I know you and I talked. It's been way back when, but You remember the thrill as a kid, flip through the Sears catalog at Christmas
for
time?
sure.
That our kids will never get to
never
experience. I mean, I can still smell the Sears catalog. You remember the smell that it had? And, that's something they're just never going to get to
We
experience.
touched on that one time, that Ford engine that was clear plastic.
Yeah, and Combine Ryan.
Combine Ryan's like, you don't want one. My brother filled it full of glue.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's just, that's the way technologies went, and it's something my kids will never experience.
And by the same token, companies that don't keep up with the technology, they'll lose out. Sears being one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've said this 100 times, that I truly think one day Amazon will put Walmart out of business. I truly feel that. And people say, man, I don't know. But, man, in the 60s, if you'd have said, yeah, Sears will be out of business one of these days, they'd have said, ain't no way you can buy houses from Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And now you're back to where if they sold houses, they'd probably be in business.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Especially if they're on the right side of the lumber price.
Yeah. That ain't no kidding. But no, it's weird. And I guess there's advantages growing up with technology that my kids have got that I didn't have, is the flip side to that.
Yeah.
We had 3 channels as a kid, one TV in the house. You watch what Dad was watching, and that was it.
Yeah, I remember we got the first VCR. It had like 3 through 21 on channels, and you had to get up and push the button. But that was better than clicking the knob every time.
Sure.
And it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is amazing the difference you see in your kids with technology versus without. So we've never let our kids have free reign on devices per se.
No.
But here, I forget it. It's been a month and a half ago now. I come home one day and was so pissed because I had this list of chores for the kids to do, and not a goddamn one of it got done or done right, even the little bit that did get done. And so I told my wife, I said, you get every electronic. I want Xbox controllers. I want tablets, all that shit. And I locked them in the gun safe.
Yep.
And it is amazing now when they completely cut off that with no access to it whatsoever for not even an hour of an evening.
Yeah.
The difference that we have seen. And as far as I'm concerned, they're going to stay in the gun safe. I'm done with it. I don't mind that stuff in the winter when there's nothing else to do. But this time of year, you don't need to be on that shit. Get outside and do something, learn something, whatever.
I had the conversation with my wife over that same exact thing. I'm like, summer's coming on. I don't care if we got to get somebody else's kids, take our kids somewhere, whatever. They need more time with other kids and less time with electronics.
For sure.
Nip that almost down to nothing. Your son's the same way as mine. They don't have any brothers.
Yep.
They can't play boy stuff unless they go to somebody else's house.
Yep.
And they need that.
Right. They do. Yep. And to me, the boy stuff, I get outside, playing kickball, whatever. I get that. But to me, that's not true boy stuff. Go out in the pasture, build a fort.
Build a fort. Go into hay mound, stack some hay bales up.
I've even literally thought about getting on Marketplace, whatever, just buy an old junk push mower for $25.
Yeah.
And just give them a set of wrenches. Tear it down, put it back. What? I don't care what you do. Tear it down and throw it away.
Tear it down, throw it away.
Put it back together. I don't care what you do, but just do something.
Yeah.
But I've never done it, and I should.
No, you're exactly right. Here's a stack. We can't use lumber anymore, but back in the day, here's 25, 2x4 scraps. Here's a stack of nails and a hammer. Nail it into something.
Yeah.
My kids got to doing that a little bit for a while in the shed there. And it's like, as much as I'm upset that you wasted, my good GRK screws and this, that, and the other, I'm like, I'm kind of excited that you took the time to build something. Well, it was a needless item. For sure. That, you made some sort of kind of car or whatever out of this, stack of wood. That's neat. Have at it,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That I'm not opposed to technology for kids because they're going to have it. They're living in a world that's different than ours.
Yeah.
They're going to have to know how to use that.
Well, the guys that paid attention to that and were nerds, quote unquote, when we were growing up are super wealthy now and doing, they're pointing and clicking all day.
Yep.
But they don't have to build anything. They're not.
I almost feel like our kids are in the transition that there's so many kids that don't know manual labor that it's like, if I taught my kid just a little bit how to take a tire off a car, he could probably be a millionaire because nobody else knows how to do it.
We're going to run out of people that can change a tire here pretty soon. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, but outside of TV, my kids have had zero access to any electronics, Xboxes,
and nothing wrong
any
with
of that
that
stuff. And it started out, we'd give them 2 hours of an evening. And then it seemed like, that would get lost, then 2.5, and then close to 3. And then finally we started clamping it. And then I got pissed that one day and locked every bit of it in the gun safe, and they seen it since.
Well, kids in general are so belligerent about that. It's like you give them this firm time. Okay, you can play for an hour. So you shut them off in an hour, and then they're all mad. It's like, I told you up front.
Yeah.
An hour. It's been an hour and 15. I spotted you an extra 15 minutes because I was trying to be nice. Now you got to be mean about it?
Yep. Well, and that's what we noticed. It was the attitude, because that's exactly what you had. You had this big fight, which they don't give me any grief, period. If I say shut it off, they shut it off. That's the end of it. But with Carolyn, we was all that way with our moms. You always got to fight it a little bit, and that's how it goes. Well, I just need 5 more minutes to beat this level or whatever they're doing. And she's like, no, she puts her foot down. And then they're mad at her, because they had to shut it off mid-game, and it just caused a fight. So I'm like, then piss on it. Just lock them in the safe, and nobody gets nothing.
Done with it and be over with. And now they can save games. When I was a kid, you couldn't save anything, right?
Yeah. Well, she had kind of, and I'm not knocking my wife here, she had started out here a while back and said something about, they could have 30 minutes. And I'm like, well, in the kids' defense, you can't do 30 minutes in the video game world, realistically. I mean, that's serves not enough time to really do anything. So that's almost, it's sort of
counterproductive.
Yeah, it's sort of all or none. I mean, so nope, we've just locked them up, and I don't know, maybe when the snow starts flying, they can have them back.
Here's the keys of the 4-wheeler. Go ride.
For sure. Oh my God, we got 2 4-wheelers set in the shed that barely ever get rode. Thank God, if I'd had that when I was a kid, I'd have went through 3 sets of tires and 9,000 gallons of gas. And
yeah, stuff like that I don't mind buying. You want to ride the 4-wheeler, that's fine.
Yeah, so I don't know. And I mean, I'm not knocking my kids. I don't mean to make it sound like that by any stretch of the mile, but I think it's just, I just think that free reign on electronics.
It's the difference in society and how things go now,
For sure. Yeah, but I don't know. Well, anyway, we went from electronics to Gleaner combines to technology and back, and we've been kind of been all over the place once again.
It's ironic to have the cleaner conversation and technology in the same podcast.
I never thought of that. That's pretty good. And here we bitch about technology as we're doing a podcast.
That's true. Yeah. So completely disregard that and stay tuned.
We'll get your mailing address. We'll just send you guys copies of letters of what.
Yeah. We'll just start writing out the podcast. Mm-hmm. It'll be a mailer from here on out.
Yeah, for sure. So. Well, anyway, we're going to knock this one off here, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Straightforward Farming Podcast, and hopefully we get this farming done under our belt. We can be back on the weekly stool, but until then, keep it tuned right here. Thanks for listening, guys.